And a good Thursday morning, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this 30th day of January. We're coming on early today. This is going to be a brief show this morning. We'll have complete coverage tonight on our regular McFiles broadcast, but we want to come on this morning. We were going to come on last night, but we didn't have a lot of details. They were emerging. We had just gotten off of our face show last night, and when I went into the living room, I saw the horrible news of this tragedy that took place in Washington, D.C. last night. A Black Hawk helicopter, for those of you that don't know, crashed into an American Airlines commuter jet coming from Wichita, Kansas. The jet had roughly 60 people on it, and then there was four crew members. The Black Hawk helicopter had three. And as of this morning, they just held a press conference. I was sort of waiting to see what they would tell us about the survivors. Last night, it was sort of unclear as to what the situation was. Of course, when these things happen, there's always a lot of confusion and tragedy. I was just in D.C. last week, and I drove that stretch of road that a lot of these emergency vehicles were racing to last night, and it just it really crushed my heart. As what we know this morning, first of all, let me just say this: our prayers to all involved, the families and the souls of these individuals involved. Our prayers to all of you this morning. We are heartbroken over this. This is really the first major airline crash this country has had since 2009. And the first one over D.C. since 1982. This Reagan Airport has been one of the safest, to be frank with you, in the nation. This was a weird situation. There's no doubt about it. There'll be time for concerns and things to be brought up later, I'm sure. Today, we're just trying to report the facts to you this morning, what we do know, what we don't know. I thought Sean Duffy did a great job this morning with the press conference in D.C. And I think one of the statements I heard is that when things like this happen in a partisan town, usually these things bring Democrats and Republicans together. Well, let's hope it does. Let's hope it does. But I've got to say a few things that are going to sound a little political this morning that's not going to be too pleasant about the Dems, because they're the stonewall, and this is why you need a cabinet in place. This is why President Trump needs his people in place for events like this. And there should be no excuse why his cabinet members should not have been in place January the 20th. There just isn't. And I heard one of the reporters ask the question at the end this morning, who's over the FAA? It's a great question this morning. And because Congress and the Dems are stonewalling, what they're doing is not helping. But I don't want to deal with that. We're going to deal with that more tonight. We're going to try to get Brad Johnson on. I was trying to get James Akers on the phone this morning, and we're looking for somebody in the military that would talk to us about those helicopters, because that is, to me, the question this morning. And you know, as of right now, there's nothing that seems to be out of the ordinary. The flight pattern, there were things that definitely happened. There was something that went amiss last night with the communication between the tower, the helicopter, and the airplane, which they wouldn't have been communicating. This was a training exercise in the dark of night, and from what we understand, these are normal things that go on over D.C. And I don't doubt that. I just cannot put my head around why the helicopter did not see that plane before it rammed into it. And there's been video. There was a video that Fox was playing last night that you can see it in the distance, the lights of the helicopter, and it just made a beeline right into the side of this American airline commuter jet that basically went into the Potomac River. And it was basically waist-deep water. And you saw the explosion. Many of you saw the explosion over the sky. We'll have that video ready for you tonight. This morning, we're just trying to report what we know. As of this afternoon, or as of this morning, the fire chief just confirmed about an hour ago that there are probably likely no survivors to this plane crash, either in the helicopter or the jet. 67 people are presumed dead. They have pulled, at least they know of, what they know of, about 28 bodies out of the river. Michael Waltz, the National Security Advisor, NSA agency director, was on Fox right before the press conference. He said that they have confirmed that 30 bodies have been recovered. The fire chief, I think, answered the question wisely when they asked why the discrepancy, and he said, well, he said, you know, we are reporting what the coroner's office has, you know, confirmed. And he said there will be some fluctuation, but as of right now, we'll just go with the official number of 29. And but that's going to leave another 30 bodies or so that they have to account for. This is a tragedy, folks, beyond tragedy. And I know that the knee-jerk reaction is going to be, well, why did this happen? And I guess that's going to have to be answered by the National Traffic Safety Board and the FAA. They're supposed to have a press conference later today. I'm sure they're doing an investigation. The Department of Defense is doing an investigation into the Black Hawk helicopter. There's something, it went wrong. I mean, that's just the way it happens. I mean, that's the way it happened, and there's no getting around that this morning. But what we do know is that the helicopter was on a normal flight path, as was the airplane on the descent from Wichita, Kansas. And for whatever reason, the helicopter did not see this jet and slammed right into the side of it. And Sean Duffy said this morning that you know, there was nothing unusual, and that's normal things that go on around Reagan. They do have training exercises at night with those airplanes. I'm sure that's going to probably change after this. It should, but we're going to get to the bottom of it, and we felt like I was going to come on last night, and I didn't have any information last night. It was all going to be murky. We could have come on for 10 minutes and said, hey, there's been a plane crash, but I wanted to come on this morning before we get the day started. We've got a Bible study coming up here in about 30-40 minutes on our Faith Network. But we do know that 67 people are presumed dead in this tragedy. And we're going to be trying to talk to somebody, we're trying to find somebody today in the know about these helicopters and talk about the military aspect of this, because it's huge. But I want to caution our listeners this morning, because it's inevitable, it's going to happen. I've not even checked X. I was looking over, I was holding my breath this morning, watching some of the stuff come down on the Twitter feeds and some of these telegram rooms. Be very careful of people wanting to sensationalize this and make it into something it's not. As of right now, as of this morning, as of 9:05 Eastern, there is nothing that we can report that would indicate this was anything other than just a horrific, tragic crash. I do want to show you the Breitbart article from last night. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing here. This actually came out this morning, right around 8 o'clock this morning, and an airplane has reportedly crashed at Ronald Reagan Airport in Washington, grounding all takeoffs and landings. This was an update as of 1 a.m. Fire Chief John Donnelly, there he is right there, reports that the mission is moving from a rescue phase to a recovery phase. He confirmed that this morning around 10 o'clock, or around 8 o'clock this morning, 7:30 or so. He confirmed that. Here is the Chief John Donnelly from Washington.
We are now at a point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident. And we have recovered 27 people from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. The district office of the medical examiner has lead on reuniting these bodies and these people with their loved ones, and we will continue to work to find all the bodies and collect them and reunite them with their loved ones. We should also acknowledge that the Virginia medical examiner and the Army medical examiner are involved in this operation and a very important part of getting people identified.
And that was the chief. Sorry for the audio. It was a little low there on the thing. And that's all we know, folks, this morning. I'm going to say it. I've already took a comment out. Again, folks, we do not know whether this was intentional or not, and we're not going to report that. If you want to believe that, go post that on your own stuff right now. We're trying to get to the facts. We deal in facts here, and you're entitled to your opinion. But there's no evidence this was intentional. There was no evidence of that. And I would appreciate you not posting such comments in my chat room. The other thing is the family issue. And I want to just say this too while I'm at it. I want to salute the Coast Guard. I was up in D.C. last week, and the temperatures were in the single digits every night. It was one of the most brutal cold weekends I've ever spent up there. And the temperatures today were a little warmer last night. They were in the 50s last night. It was just an unusual event, and then they went back down into the 30s. That water is in the 30s. And the braveness and the courageousness of the Coast Guard that are going into those waters to get these bodies out. I want to salute our Coast Guard this morning. I want to salute Christy Nome. I want to salute Pete Hexteth, and I want to salute Sean Duffy for the quick response of our federal agencies and all the local agencies. The mayor of Washington seems to be participating, cooperating. I salute her. I'm not a big fan of the mayor of Washington, but in this case, look, and again, when these events occur, we've just got to throw out our political bias and our political animus and work together and deal with the loss of these souls, 67 of them, that are not going to be coming home to their families tonight or this morning. And, you know, it was sort of tragic if you think about it. This plane was almost to D.C. It had to be a long flight, and I'm sure that the people on the plane were relieved that that long flight was over. And to have this helicopter hit it like it did, I mean, you know, look, I guess we'll never know now, but that it had to be a shock to the families that got the news this morning. I'm sure that a lot of these people, if they had the phone service to text their families, hey, I'm landing in D.C. here in a minute, and that landing never took place. So it's tragic on all levels, and the Coast Guard, I want to salute them this morning for the bravery that they're showing getting these bodies out of that river. And I'm sure that before the day's out, or the next couple of days, we'll hopefully have all the bodies recovered. But this is all what we know. And again, folks, I know that there are going to be questions that will be answered, have to be answered as to what happened. And we're not here to do that this morning. I don't know what happened other than what we've been told. And I don't care how restricted the airspace is. This was a Black Hawk helicopter on a training exercise. And the plane was a normal flight. There was another plane taken off from Reagan Airport. So please don't listen to the stuff that's about to descend upon that internet out there. Stick with the facts. Stick with what we know. And stay grounded in this and keep your head on a swivel. Look, these families are hurting. I can only imagine the hurt and the sorrow that these families feel this morning. And I think when these things happen, it's got to insult the families and insult the memories of these that are lost. When people go off on their tangents and start trying to play detective and Sherlock Holmes at a time that we don't need to be doing anything, but giving our prayers and giving our support to the dead and or the families of the dead. Please do that for me as a McFiles family this morning. 67 again are presumed dead. And that's all we know. We're going to be updating this. This is just a update this morning. There's nothing more. I wish we could spend more time, but this is about all we know right now. And I will take a few comments from you in the chat. And let me see what we got here. I'm going to go over here to Facebook or YouTube. Yes, Jennifer, there was U.S. and Russian figure skaters and coaches on the plane. That is correct. We do know that. We absolutely do know that. And it's very tragic. And again, that you know, that's an international situation there, and you're right. Anyway, good to see everybody. Alice, Drew, good to see you. If you got any questions, I mean, I'll try to answer them again, folks. That's about all we know right now. This show this morning is to let you know that we are aware of it, and we'll be back on tonight. We're going to get Brad Johnson on. I'm sure he will be helping me find some information that he can get it through D.C. We may even talk to Marsha Montenegro by phone tonight to see if she knows anything. She lives in that area. Eric Karen can't be with us tonight, but there is it's a shock. I heard John Roberts this morning on Fox, and he basically said that the whole D.C. area was shocked by this, and I feel it. I feel that same thing this morning because they've not had a plane crash. We've not had a plane crash in this country like this. And thank God, look, our hearts go out to the 67 people that are presumed dead. Could have been worse. Could have been a bigger jetliner. But what we understand, I did hear one report that helicopter, when it hit that plane broke into 3 pieces. So the impact was pretty substantial. And just think about what that would have done had that been a big jetliner coming into D.C. And we don't want to lessen the severity of the death and the number. The number is, look, all those souls are precious to God, and they should be precious to us this morning. And my thing this morning is that we need to just put our prayers and to put our thoughts to the families right now. The officials will figure this out. I will say this: if it was any other, if this was the Biden administration over this, I would be so concerned of us ever hearing about the truth of this. I think with Trump, they are not going to do the same thing as the Bidens would do. I just don't, and I think that we're going to get to the bottom of what happened. Even President Trump said last night this could have been preventable, and I'll agree with that. I do believe this could have been prevented. It could have been. But there'll be a time for all of that down the road. We just need to pray for these victims this morning. And I will be the first to tell you, the one thing that I'm getting my head around, and I cannot get it around right now, is how that helicopter did not see that plane. I just don't get it. And we'll deal with that tonight with Brad. We'll deal with that with James Akers perhaps. And we hope that you will join us tonight later on and so forth. Our prayers for the families we do appreciate. Yeah, and JC2K, I'm actually am with you there. I'm expecting the mainstream media. They were already sort of insinuating that this morning in the press conference. I heard the tone of I'll put it like this: if you heard the tone of the press conference, the media in this country needs to be shot. I'm just telling you, the media in this country has no class. They have no morals. They have no moral clarity whatsoever at a time of a tragedy. They are still taking barbs and asking some of the most dumb, blank questions. Look, I don't even have a degree in journalism. I could get up there and ask more smart questions than this bunch of idiots that are covering Washington, D.C. And the questions this morning, like Sean Duffy, they asked Sean Duffy 3 or 4 times, is the airspace safe around D.C.? You've had, this is the first crash in D.C. in 40 years, 1982, so 42 years. Again, insinuating that somehow or another the Trump administration is not keeping the airplane safe. Let me just throw this little barb out, and I will deal with this more tonight. The people they should be arguing and fussing to about that are the Dems, because Trump has tried to get his people in place to make sure our country is safe. I heard Waltz this morning say that the Department of National Intelligence is not filled, and we don't have an FBI director right now. We don't have a lot of intelligent agencies over in the OMB office because the Dems are delaying it. But this media, JC2K, I totally agree. Give it a day or two. Give it probably 6 hours. I would say by tonight there'll be somebody in the media. Watch The View today. Watch all this left-wing media. They will blame Trump. They will try. But that's another discussion for tonight. Our prayers this morning for the 67 people and their families that have been sadly lost to this tragedy. And our prayers for all the victims. Good to see everybody. I'm waiting for the spin too, brother. I'm waiting for the spin. And we're grateful for all you being with us this morning. Again, I know, folks, that we're early. And we were hoping to have James Akers on the phone. I'm going to see if he can come on real quick, if he's answered my call. Let's see here. Let's see. Nope, he's not up yet. Okay, we'll get James on tonight. We'll probably get him and Brad by phone. We'll have somebody with us tonight to talk about this. I've even sent my brother a message. He's retired military. And we hope to have some more details about this. Folks, keep your head on a swivel out there today. Pray for these folks. Pray. If we see something that needs to be, we need to come on and talk about, and if there's any breaking news, we will be on here throughout the day here on the news side, the X side, and the Facebook side. Now, you folks on the faith side, speaking of that, we're going to be here with you in about 30 minutes, around 9:45. We'll do our morning study like we normally do. That's not going to change. But I wanted to come on the news side this morning and give you an update, because some of you didn't hear about the news last night. Some of you did. But we do need to pray for our nation this morning as it hurts and reels over a terrible tragedy over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. It was sad when I was there and drove that bridge, at George Washington Bridge. It was completely frozen. That river was frozen. And when I heard about this last night, the first thought was those temperatures, that water temperature of those folks that fell into that river after this. And it's just a grotesque way to go. And I mean, I just cannot fathom the horror of all this. And our prayers, again, for all involved. And I want to say this, our prayers for the Trump administration and how they handle this. And Sean Duffy, he's done. I thought this morning for him to be thrown in the fire 48 hours after he was confirmed into this, I think he did a great job this morning. I think Brian Kilmeade brought it up to Waltz. He said a lot of these people have not even been able to sit at their desk and get their drawers straight with pens and paper, and they're thrust into this. This is why, folks, this is why you get cabinets set up before the president takes office, that they can get running on day one. And not that something couldn't have happened after the inauguration. These things happen, and they're part of life. They're part of the country's history. It's just the way it is. But to throw somebody into the fire, I think Sean Duffy's done a first press conference this morning. I thought he handled the press as good as anybody, and they were trying to bait him up pretty good. And I'm glad that he didn't let them, and I'm grateful. And we'll wait for the FFA and the National Traffic Safety Board, National Transportation Safety Board, to investigate this. The Department of Defense is going to investigate it as well, I'm sure, as to what happened with that helicopter. My gut feeling, I'll say this and I'll leave you this morning, my gut feeling, there probably was a malfunction on that helicopter, because even on our cars, I've got it on my car, if I get too close to a vehicle, my collision light goes off. I mean, it goes. I've got a light, a flashing red light that flashes in front of me to tell me you're about to hit a car in front of you. You're going too fast, cars slow down. Yeah, I cannot believe that there's not the same kind of function on a Black Hawk helicopter of our government. And my gut is telling me it's probably a malfunction of that helicopter that they did not see. That's the only thing I can come up with right now. We're going to talk about that angle tonight. Get James Akers on here, Brad Johnson, and some other folks, hopefully by phone, to talk about it with you. This is how quick life changes. I've got some faith things I'm going to share about it on the Faith Network this morning. If you want to join me for that, there's a Bible nugget in this. What happened last night, it really is. And we should all be thankful we're alive this morning. We should be thankful because life can end this quickly. And our prayers again. All right, let me get out of here. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. I will see you back here tonight. And we hope that you enjoyed our update this morning. We're doing the best we can to keep you updated and so forth. And yes, Eve, there are many hurting people. And JC, you're right. I couldn't listen to the confirmation either, and I'm going to talk about that tonight. These confirmation hearings have become a joke. Judy, they did say it was windy on the river, but I will tell you this: no, I don't think the wind blew. I disagree with that. The wind, the 16-mile-an-hour winds, is not going to blow a helicopter. I know that's what was said. I heard that this morning. I'm in weather. I know I'm a weather nut. That kind of wind is not going to affect a helicopter's path. Sean Duffy made it clear that the weather conditions did not have any bearing on this crash. This was not weather related. It was, 16-mile-an-hour wind is not no wind, but I do not believe that played a role in this. There was something else. I think it was mechanical. That's just, again, my opinion. And if once the investigation is completed, I'm sure they will find out what exactly caused this. We hope they do. I have more faith in this administration getting to the bottom of it than I would have ever had with the previous bunch of morons we had running the country. Can you imagine Pete Buttigieg over this right now? Can you imagine him as Department of Transportation head instead of Sean Duffy? Lord have mercy. Don't make my eyes roll back in my head and need medical help before the day's out. I'm grateful Trump's in charge, and I'm praying for our country, and I'm praying for these victims. Listen, I'll see you back here about 30 minutes on the face side. I'll be back here tonight on the news side. You're watching a very special Live Mac Files breaking news special this morning. 67 presumed dead. Our prayers for the families. Our prayers for the families, and our prayers for the people of D.C. this morning, and our prayers for this Coast Guard that is braving the cold waters of the Potomac to rescue these fake people, their bodies. It's a recovery effort now. May the Lord bless you. We'll talk to you later. Have a good day, everybody. We'll be back.